Hey friend, welcome to the Halfway to Dead podcast. I'm your host, Jen Lovell. Listen, you and I have reached that age where we are done with the bullshit. We know that midlife is our chance to flip the script and experience life on our own terms. It's time to reconnect with our higher selves and reclaim our inner peace. Are you ready with an open heart and an open mind? Awesome, you're in the right place. Hop in and ride shotgun with me on this midlife spiritual journey. Hey friends, welcome back. It's just you and Jen today, solo episode. Can we talk about something that almost nobody in the spiritual world wants to admit? Sometimes the biggest challenge to your awakening is your awakening. When you first wake up spiritually, everything suddenly feels meaningful. Every dream feels like it has deep meaning. Every person is either a soulmate or a narcissist. There's no gray area anymore. Before you know it, you're spending more time decoding the universe than actually living your life. Listen, I'm talking about myself here too, you guys. We're talking about spiritual red flags that can quietly appear during an awakening, especially for women in midlife, not because you're doing anything wrong, but because awakening opens your heart, your mind, and your intuition. The challenge here is learning how to stay open without losing your grounding. Most spiritual red flags don't even look like red flags. They look like healing. They look like growth. They look like devotion. And sometimes they even look like love. Today's episode is not about calling anyone out. It's about helping all of us, including me, notice when our spiritual practice stops helping us become more free and starts making us dependent. It's that moment when you realize you're veering off path. If you don't think you have any red flags going on right now, keep listening because you probably fall into one of these categories. Think about this. Do you feel more peaceful than you did a year ago? More empowered, better able to make decisions, more compassionate, more present? Or sometimes are you feeling more anxious, more confused, more afraid of making the wrong move, constantly searching for the next best thing in your journey? Healthy spirituality increases your agency. Unhealthy spirituality increases dependency. If you've ever wondered, am I actually growing or am I just getting spiritually overwhelmed? This whole conversation's for you. These red flags are going to hit home big time. So we have talked about how midlife is the perfect storm for an awakening. So many awakenings often happen during major identity shifts. So for us, these are things like menopause, divorce, that damn empty nest feeling. We've got aging parents we have to care for. We're changing careers. We might be getting mental health diagnoses. We might have some, late diagnosed ADHD. That's a big one right now. We might have some traumas resurfacing. We might be in the midst of grief or chronic illness. There's a million reasons why us midlifers are getting propelled into these midlife awakenings because everything that once defined us starts changing all at once. The identities we've carried for decades begin to fall away, and suddenly we're asking bigger questions. Who am I? What actually matters? What comes next? And when everything familiar begins to crumble, we enter into these spiritual journeys, these spiritual awakenings, and these red flags will start to slip in, okay? You are not immune to this. It's going to happen to everyone experiencing any form of spiritual awakening. Okay, let's go over them. I'm going to do this in two parts, I think, for you guys, all right? Because there's a lot to cover here, quite honestly. So I'm going to do half of them in part one here, and then you're going to bump on over to part two to get the second half. And we also go over some green flags. Okay. Anyway, let's get in there. Red flag number one. Every coincidence becomes divine instruction. Okay, synchronicities are wonderful, you guys, and I fully believe in them, right? They do have meaning, but sometimes 11:11 is just what time it is on the clock. Sometimes feathers are just feathers, okay? Seeing a feather does not always mean to quit your job and divorce your husband. Okay. Sometimes it's just a beautiful feather that we enjoy in the moment. And I want to take this into consideration with this one. Confirmation bias. Confirmation bias is the tendency to notice information that supports your beliefs, to remember experiences that reinforce those beliefs, give more weight to evidence that confirms your expectations, and to kind of discount and explain away information that might contradict them. Because our brain is constantly trying to create a coherent story about the world around us. And confirmation bias helps us to do that. Sometimes it's at the expense of our objectivity. And this is just something risky during our spiritual awakening. So here's an example. You fully have decided that your spirit guides communicate with you through butterflies. All of a sudden you see 3 butterflies, and then a butterfly lands near you while you're thinking about changing jobs. And then someone gives you a butterfly necklace. And all those experiences are standing out really vividly in your mind. And you probably didn't notice the dozens of birds you passed, the dragonflies, the squirrels, the hundreds of moments when no butterflies appeared, because your mind will highlight the experiences that fit your existing belief. That does not mean that seeing those butterflies has no significance. Likely it does, but I just want you to recognize how attention and expectation can influence what you feel. So let's talk about that's confirmation bias, right? It's like sometimes you buy a white SUV and all of a sudden you just see white SUVs everywhere. It's not that the whole world's buying white SUVs with you. You're just noticing them now because that's what's on your mind. So let's talk confirmation bias versus intuition. And this is where people get confused. So confirmation bias often feels like you're looking for proof. It's a mental analysis. You're trying to connect every dot. You need the answer to be true. And you're feeling very emotionally attached to the outcome. Intuition feels quiet, calm, simple, not urgent, and it's present without any supporting evidence. You're not counting on seeing the butterflies to give you your answers. Okay. It's just quiet, calm, simple. Things are just coming to you. Intuition usually doesn't need to convince you of anything. You just know. Confirmation bias often does. Okay. When you're experiencing that, it really is trying to convince you that something has meaning. This is tricky, you guys. I know. What I'm saying is you can remain open to synchronicities, meaningful coincidences, or intuitive experiences while also recognizing that the human brain will naturally seek patterns and confirmation. These 2 ideas are not mutually exclusive, you guys. A mature spiritual practice is not about believing every experience or dismissing every experience. It's about cultivating the wisdom to ask good questions, tolerate uncertainty, that's a hard one, and let insights unfold over time rather than forcing them into your predetermined story. It's about keeping that mind open, you guys. Yes, the butterflies might mean something, but also you still got to go with that gut intuition, right? What feels right to you. Because one of the biggest signs that you have spiritual maturity isn't that you see more signs than everyone else. Okay. If you're just seeing signs everywhere, that doesn't mean you're more spiritual than others. It's that you are willing to ask, could there be another explanation? Because curiosity is often more powerful than certainty. The strongest intuitions don't fear questions, it welcomes them. Certainty is often your enemy in these situations. Forcing meaning into everything often comes from anxiety, not intuition. Let your answers come intuitively and let the signs validate. Okay. So for example, the other day I was looking for an answer on something. And I thought, okay, I've been thinking about this a lot. If I look at I'm going to look at the clock. And if it says 11:11, 1:11, 2:22, 3:33, 4:44, whatever, I'll know that's the answer. I looked at the clock and it was like 2:56. It meant 0 things to me, right? Okay, 2:56. That doesn't resonate with me at all. But what it got me to do was like, wow, like, the clock really didn't mean anything. No, because as I sat there, I actually felt what the answer was. Okay. I had to reground myself and say like, girl, what you doing? Like, we don't need the clock to answer our question today. Okay. So we cannot depend on those things because maybe they're meaningful. Maybe they're invitations just to pause, but not every coincidence is a command from the universe. And while we're talking about giving away our discernment, let's get to red flag number 2. Red flag number 2 is outsourcing your intuition. Instead of trusting your intuition and knowing your own personal truth, this is when you think you need another tarot reading, another visit with a psychic. Maybe you need to take a peek at that astrology chart again, constantly asking, what should I do? I can't decide until I see another angel number. I'm going to just wait. I'm not going to make that decision until Mercury's out of retrograde. I don't even fully know what that means, you guys, but I hear it a lot. And then, I'll let my pendulum decide my next move. Okay. That all is outsourcing your intuition. You have to discern between using your tools and depending on your tools. So for me, this happens not as much anymore, but it's happened a lot with my pendulum. You guys have heard me tell you how much I adore my pendulum, right? So this happened the other day. I was thinking about something. I was making some decisions, some bigger decisions, and I'm sitting there and there's my pendulum, like sitting on my desk. And I was like, hey, you know what? Like, let's let's ask my girl. Let's ask my pen. Let's connect in. So I just picked it up and I started asking the questions, and it kept saying no when it really felt like it should have been a yes to me, and vice versa. And I was like, this doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel right. And I realized, okay, here's the deal. I realized I hadn't even dropped in, locked in, asked to connect with any, angel, anything. I just picked that baby up and went for it, which I don't recommend. Okay. You don't know what you're bringing through there. So, but I did. I forgot. I did. And then when I noticed everything was wrong, feeling, my gut was like, nope. I actually asked the pendulum, is what's connecting through right now my highest self, one of my angels, spirit guides, ascended masters, or are you messing with me? And it basically told me, yes, I'm messing with you. I don't know what I connected into. So I literally at that moment cleared that baby off. I was like, nope, whatever's connected, you're free to go. You're free to move on with whatever you're doing out there, but not here with me and my pendulum. So I had to clear it out. And then just to double check it, I did my thing where I dropped in, I asked specifically for a certain archangel to help me out. And then the answer started clicking with what my intuition was. And honestly, I didn't keep going with it. I was like, what am I doing? I absolutely know what I should be doing right now. So that's an occasion where I thought I was going to depend on the pendulum, realized that was ridiculous to think, and ended up getting my answers by tuning into my own intuition. Okay. So don't do that, you guys. Do not depend on your tools, right? They're tools. They're not the be all end all answer. Because you need to remember, at what point does guidance become outsourcing your own wisdom? Okay, you probably already know, and you just need to stop and think, what do I already know about this? What are the facts? What am I feeling? And let the answer come to you that way. That brings us to something that happens so gradually that we often don't notice it happening. Red flag number 3, we make spirituality our entire personality. What I'm saying is every conversation starts to turn into ascension, chakras, frequencies, star seeds, downloads, consciousness, what the Pleiadians think, like all the things, okay? All of a sudden, because often we can't tolerate small talk anymore when we're in these at certain points, at certain phases. So we think every conversation has to be life-changing, seriously deep stuff. And often that's when we start losing touch with our friends, our hobbies, our humor, our creativity, and just ordinary, everyday joy. I want you to remember this. You are allowed to explore all the things. You're allowed to hang out with your friends and let them lead the convo without turning it into a deep spiritual conversation, because sometimes it's not that deep. And thank goodness, you guys, because who has the energy for all of this all the time? Not me. You're allowed to just talk and laugh and have fun sometimes. It's not always that serious. You do not have to be the weirdo in the group all the time that makes it weird and uncomfortable. All right? You don't have to do that. If your friend is talking about her swollen toe and you feel the need to ask, hey, have you asked your spirit guides about it? Hey, what does Archangel Michael have to say? No, her toe's swollen. It's not that deep. Let's calm down a little bit, because awakening should expand our humanity, not replace it. You are still you. You're going through changes. You're opening, you're expanding, but you're still you. And your personality still, for the most part, remains. All right. The best parts of it anyway. The rest, we might want to judge, but let's keep the good stuff and have a little fun still. Because once spirituality becomes your only identity, another trap's going to appear. Red flag number 4, spiritual superiority, right? You get super judgy. And like I said, I'm not calling anybody out here, girls. If you're connecting with any of these, I'm right there with you. I've done all of this. I've done it all. And these are things like you're around people, they're talking, you don't necessarily agree with what they're saying. So you decide they're just too low. They're low vibration. They just don't get it, right? And listen, this one's going to require a little humility to deal with. You're going to start believing you're more evolved, that you're more important than them, right? You're going to start judging everyone. You start judging your family. You're going to start judging your friends. You're going to be like, these people, they just don't get it. Then I want you to remember that wisdom usually looks more like curiosity, not certainty. And another reality, you have the same amount of God inside of you as everyone else, including your asshole coworker, okay? The ego does not disappear. It doesn't matter how far we think we're ascending in this lifetime. As a human, our ego's not going anywhere. So sometimes we simply have to learn spiritual language and a way to deal with it. Humility is often a greater sign of an awakening than certainty. Ironically, one of the wisest things you'll ever say in a conversation is I don't know. Okay. Remember, saying I don't know instead of being a judgy little know-it-all is going to make for better conversations, better relationships. And that's how you actually keep your vibes higher. That leads me to number 5, confusing certainty with wisdom. You keep hearing me say this word certainty versus wisdom. All right, let's talk about it. Awakened people start to become absolutely certain about their beliefs, right? Things like the ancient civilizations, the aliens, Atlantis, timelines, reincarnation, energy, all the conspiracy theories that they've connected with. I just want you to remember, you are free to explore any belief you want, but the red flag is becoming unable to tolerate uncertainty, being a know-it-all. If you think you're absolutely 100% right, that is not wisdom. Wisdom is being certain that you can't possibly be right about everything. I mean, think about it for a minute. How could we possibly be right about everything? We are still just humans here to learn lessons. We are not meant to know it all. Yes, we're awakening. We're exploring new things. We're seeing what resonates with us. But if you think you're 100% right, you are not wise. Okay? You are not wise. You are wise when you know you don't know it all and you just keep exploring for answers and staying open to things. That's wisdom. Because healthy spirituality leaves room for curiosity, evidence, and mystery. Red flag number 6, you guys, calling everything a soul contract or that everything happens for a reason. During your spiritual awakening, we start hearing about these soul contracts we have with people. Like, well, this was meant to be because I probably have a soul contract with them, right? He agreed to do those things to me and I agreed to learn my lesson from it and yada, yada, yada. This can be toxic friendships, emotionally abusive relationships, manipulative workplaces. And again, you're thinking, this is my lesson to learn. There must be a meaning behind why I'm going through all this misery. Sometimes, yes. Sometimes it's simply unhealthy. Sometimes an asshole is just an asshole. Protect your energy because everyone is not worthy of taking it. And there's free will. Okay. There's a lot of free will out there. Everything is not meant to be your lesson to learn because spiritual meaning should never require self-abandonment. You should be able to stay in your authentic self throughout the experience and feel like you're growing, healing, and expanding throughout it. If you're just feeling tortured, let's take another look at that, you guys. Okay. This might just be a sign that you need some better boundaries in that situation and they're sucking your energy and you actually are supposed to be spending the energy somewhere else on a better lesson. Again, let's get in touch with that intuition. This leads me to something women especially struggle with, red flag number 7, which is ignoring our physical bodies. I know you guys are with me on this. And you're thinking, what do you mean? Like in spirituality, these spiritual journeys, we're taking better care of ourselves. Well, yeah, we're supposed to be. But there are phases here where we are not. We'll skip sleep because we forgot to meditate. I need one more meditation. Well, maybe what you just need is sleep though. Okay. You're ignoring your hormones, neglecting your nutrition. Maybe you decide you don't need to go to therapy anymore because you're awakened now. You don't need therapy. No, girl, you might still need that therapy. Let's not bypass all the things that we're doing. Sometimes we assume, well, everything is just energy and my spirit team's going to handle it. Right? Like I was meditating about it. I gave it to God. Girl, I gave it to God. I'm not worried about that diabetes anymore. No. We're going to still have to worry about the diabetes, girls, because they are there and they are supporting us, but we have to do the work, right? Can we miraculously heal? Has it happened? Yes. But on the day-to-day, we got to handle our stuff, okay? Like, let's not spiritual bypass taking care of these little meat suits we're wearing, okay? These little human bodies, because our body deserves as much attention as our spirit. Remember, mind, body, spirit, we got to work on all of them. And this is especially important during perimenopause and menopause. I know you're with me on that. We got to do some things, okay? We can't just give it to God. We can't just, say a couple meditations and the hot flashes go away. No, we got to do some things. That's all I'm going to say about that, okay? Because that could be a whole and is several episodes that we already have. All right, you guys, listen, we got some bigger traps to talk about, some big ones. So that's going to be it for part 1, though. Drop into the next episode for part 2, where we're going to talk about confusing trauma for intuition, becoming addicted to healing, and so much more. We're also going to talk about those green flags and what a healthy awakening truly looks and feels like. And remember, authentic spirituality should increase your freedom, discernment, and connection to yourself, not make you more dependent, fearful, or certain that someone else has all the answers. You have them all inside you. We just got to access them. All right, jump over. Listen to part 2. I have more to say. Surprise, surprise. Jen has more to say. Okay, I'm going to see you in part 2. Listen, I know your time is valuable. And right now, I'm feeling super grateful and totally humbled that you chose to hang out with me today. If this podcast resonates with you, could you do me a solid and hit that subscribe or follow button? That's going to help you out because you're never going to miss an episode. And it helps me out because you're never going to miss an episode. And if you have like 30 seconds more, could you leave a 5-star rating and maybe leave a kick-ass review? Thank you so much, and I can't wait to continue our journey on the next episode. Oh, and I can't forget the fine print. You know, the legal jargon. This podcast is presented solely for educational and entertainment purposes. We're just 2 friends on this journey together, and this podcast is not intended as a substitute for the advice of a physician, professional coach, psychotherapist, or any other qualified professional. You get it. See you next time.